Okay, let's go ahead and get started. It is officially 12:10. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Thad Graham. I am the education specialist with the Victim Services Program for Family Services Incorporated. Real quick, just make sure everyone can hear me. Someone give me a yes in the question section one last time for me, please. Thank you, April. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So today we are going to be looking at and talking about, of course, SAM 2022. If you do not know, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We will be talking about what that is, as well as today's subject, which is believing sexual assault survivors. Also, if you have noticed and you've seen a few webinars before, you'll notice that we are changing some stuff around a little bit, making it look a little bit nicer, changing up how everything looks just to give it a little breath of fresh air. So please, I hope you like it, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So of course, as always, just as a heads up, a trigger warning, we are going to be talking about sexual assault victims, how to work with sexual assault victims, as well as disclosures and victim blaming. So please make sure that you are taking care of yourself. You and your mental health is the most important thing. So please make sure you are taking care of yourself first. So our objectives for today are simple. We're going to first talk about SAM 2022. We're going to look at the schedule of events both across the state and what we're doing here locally. We're going to discuss how you can get involved. We are going to look at EVAWI's Start by Believing campaign, which will transition directly into what we're talking about today, which is working with sexual assault victims, the importance of language when talking with and working with sexual assault victims, as well as victim blaming, including some victim blaming that happens in the media. And then we are going to end our discussion with an exciting announcement from the FSI team. Hold on one second. We got a question here. Becky, you're still not hearing anything. AGV, if you're in your office, can you see if you can help her? Or Becky, can you just go over to AGV's office? She is currently listening as well. I do not know. Ashley, you're going to have to get her because she can't hear me. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Sorry about that. So, of course, as I said before, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. It is also Child Abuse Prevention Month, but we are focused today on Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And this year's campaign, brought to us by NSVRC, as well as by the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape, is Believe the Internet Can Be Better by Building Safe Online Spaces Together. So this year's focus for the NSVRC as well as PCAR is building safe online spaces together. Very important. They have a ton of resources on their websites. You're going to see a ton of resources on our social media as well, all regarding hashtag SAM 2022 and how to build a safer space together on the internet. So our schedule of events for SAM 2022. NSVRC does have a 30 days of SAM 2022. They're actually also making it into a contest, so if you are participating, you can possibly win some cool stuff from PCAR and NSVRC. Yesterday, April 5th, was Teal Tuesday. I hope you participated, took a picture of yourself wearing teal, and posted it on social media. If you did not, that's okay. There is, of course, still time. And if you are local here in Blair County, we would love for you to take a picture of yourself wearing teal, post it to your Facebook, your Instagram, and of course, tag the FSI Victim Services Program as well to let us know that you support survivors of sexual assault. April 14th is Doing My Part Through Art. NSVRC has a lot of great resources on there to help promote sexual assault awareness in SAM 2022 using some amazing art pieces. And it can be as simple as coloring and posting that image online. Of course, at the end of the month, we have Reflections, which is a reflection of SAM 2022. What has occurred, what you have learned from this Sexual Assault Awareness Month this year, as well as how we can move forward together to support survivors of sexual assault. Of course, us locally, we once again brought back Webinar Wednesdays. April 20th is our next at 12:10. Sexual assault on college campuses. This is going to be a really exciting event. We're going to have a couple guest presenters, Brittany Cervello and Alicia Williams. Alicia Williams is a student at Penn State. She is actually the one who is doing the next event and has put together the next event that we're going to talk about quickly, which is the Penn State Week of Action. Alicia Williams, as well as her student organizations, her other student organizations she works with, is putting together a week of action at Penn State to support sexual assault survivors at the campus. It is culminating with Sex Ed Boot Camp, which is looks to be a really exciting event. There are going to be victim advocates, including myself, at Penn State all week to kind of help support victims and hopefully learn some stuff as well. April 29th is, of course, our FSI Victim Services Sexual Assault Awareness Month Lunch and Learn. Our keynote speakers are really, really awesome. I've got a chance to meet them, through Zoom and talk to them a few times. Dr. Joni Frater and Esther, they are, of course, the proprietors of Sex Ed Boot Camp. They will be here to speak to us. So that is SAM 2022, what's going on locally. So now we are going to look at the Start by Believing campaign, which is going to directly transition us into our other topic today. And we are going to start with a video. So this is the Start by Believing campaign video. It is a few minutes. Give me a second here. It should work. If anybody is having any sound issues when I play this video, please let me know in the question section below.
More than 160 women say Larry Nassar sexually abused them. It's one of the worst sexual abuse scandals in the history of sports. And it went on for more than 2 decades.
The ripple effect of our actions or inactions can be enormous, spanning generations. Perhaps the greatest tragedy of this nightmare is that it could have been avoided. Predators thrive in silence. It is all too common for people to choose to not get involved. Whether you act or do nothing, you are shaping the world that we live in, impacting others. All we needed was one adult to have the integrity to stand between us and Larry Nassar. If just one adult had listened, believed, and acted, the people standing before you on this stage would have never met him.
I am Chief John Venuti, and I start by believing.
I'm Officer Brandy Boyd, and I start by believing.
I'm Officer Andrew Hudgens, and I start by believing.
I'm Sergeant Chelsea McCarty, and I start by believing.
We are the Victim Witness Specialists for the City of Richmond, and we start by believing.
I'm Dispatcher Derek McDonald, and I start by believing.
Here at Virginia Commonwealth University, Start by Believing is more than a campaign. It's a mindset that is part of a culture of this department that helps us assist and provide support to survivors of sexual violence.
Okay, so very, very amazing video that talks about EVAWI's Start by Believing campaign and about the importance of believing survivors. I could not have said it any better. One of the things I do want to point out, and I wish we did it on purpose, but EVAWI, the first Wednesday in April, is Start by Believing Day. So that is today. Today is Start by Believing Sexual Assault Survivor Day. And that is exactly what we're talking about here. So a little bit more about the Start by Believing campaign. Like I said, it is brought to you by End Violence Against Women International, or EVAWI. They are celebrating their 10th anniversary. They have 643 Start by Believing campaigns across the United States. They have 9 international campaigns across the globe. They provide free toolkits to educate the public through live and virtual events, teaching them what to say and what to do when a survivor discloses. They also offer training resources for law enforcement and other professionals, improving every facet of the community response to sexual violence. The training itself is called Start by Believing, Transforming the Way We Respond to Sexual Assault Survivors. At the end of this webinar, there is going to be a brief survey, and one of the questions on there is, would you be interested in this training? So please let me know so that if you are interested, we can look to host one of these training events in our community. So moving on now to discuss about the importance of language. We saw the video which talked about the importance of believing and the importance of language. The fact is that most victims are going to seek help from their friends or family. Estimates range between 58 and 94% of sexual assault victims will go to a friend or a family member first. Some will access formal support services like victim services, like the program that I work for, but those are not nearly as many as would go to a friend or a family member first. Even fewer are going to report their sexual assault, their rape, to law enforcement. That number ranges between 5 and 20%. Less than half seek medical care to obtain a medical forensic exam, and only some victims and survivors use mental health services, between 16 and 60%. So why is this? Why is the disclosure rate so low? And why is it important that we believe and support survivors, specifically with the language we use? So the fact is that victims can and will benefit from positive support provided by their friends, their family, and their intimate partners. If we react negatively to a disclosure, that person is less likely to disclose in the future. They are also less likely to seek further assistance and seek further help. So our response as a first responder, a true first responder, as that friend, that family member, or that intimate partner, is to be positive. So we want to provide emotional support to the survivor. We want to provide them with information on medical exams, information on who to contact, police or victim services, and help them with tangible needs. What can you do to make them safer now? Social support, like I said, increases the likelihood of reporting and accessing more formal supports, accessing victim services, accessing the medical exams, accessing the mental health programming they need, accessing the police, and taking it even further. Before reporting to law enforcement, sexual assault victims contacted an average of 2 to 3 informal or formal supports. We're talking friends, family, or intimate partners. We're talking about victim services programs. We're talking about counselors. We're talking about their mental health caseworkers. If we want them to go further and to take this to the police, then we need to be positive. We need to provide that emotional support. We need to help them with information and those tangible needs to make it possible for those victims to further report. Like I said, if a victim is receiving a negative response, this can often have worse physical and psychological outcomes than if they had no response at all. Those harms compound with increased negative responses. Like I said before, victims are less likely to disclose in the future. They're less likely to disclose to others. They're less likely to seek more formal help if we respond negatively to sexual assaults. This quote was very powerful. I read it like 4 times. Victims may be better off receiving no support at all than receiving reactions they consider to be hurtful. Think of that for a moment. A victim of sexual assault may be better off receiving no support from their friends, from their family, from their loved ones, from their intimate partner, from the people they trust. They're better off with no support from those people than to have a negative reaction from those people that they consider to be hurtful. That's a powerful thought. So what can we do to be positive? What does a positive response look like? Number one is being believed. As the name of this webinar says, we need to start by believing sexual assault survivors. Percentage-wise, we're looking at anywhere between 2 and 9% of reports of sexual assault being a false claim. If someone is disclosing, if someone is coming forward and telling you that they were sexually assaulted, it happened. Begin by believing. They want to be listened to. This is not about you. This is not about you, being able to understand what they went through. They don't want to hear, your thoughts on the situation. They just want to be listened to. They want to be believed, and they want someone to listen. Of course, they do not want to be blamed, and we'll talk about victim blaming next. They want emotional support. They want you to provide them with emotional support, but at the same time, they want autonomy to make their own decisions. Victims of sexual assault, victims of domestic violence, they have that power and control taken from them. It is important that we give them the power of decision-making back and allow them the autonomy to make decisions for their own life and for their own body. Encouraged to talk about the sexual assault. Don't be a person that doesn't want to hear it. They don't want to know what happened. Don't tell me about it. If someone wants to talk, provide them with that emotional support and allow them to vent, allow them to get the issue out. Not being distracted with other things. Don't make this about yourself. It's not about you, it's about the victim. It's about providing resources, providing an ear, and providing emotional support to this victim that trusts you enough to come forward and disclose. When we act positive to a disclosure, those victims have fewer physical and psychological symptoms. They're more likely to gain support. They're more likely to move forward. They're more likely to seek professional help. So what do you say when a victim discloses? Of course, like I said before, you're going to start by believing. You're going to be supportive. You're going to ask how you can help. Don't tell them that we're going to do this. You were just sexually assaulted. We're going to the police right now. Ask what the victim wants. Remember, give them that autonomy in decision making. Avoid why questions. And of course, avoid victim blaming. What do you want to say? You want to say statements like, I believe you. I'm sorry this happened. I am here for you. You can tell me as much or as little as you want. And that's very important. Whether we're talking about a child or we're talking about an adult, they do not need to give you the nitty-gritty details. If you are a mandated reporter, you do not need every single little detail about the assault, every single little detail about what happened to do your job and report it. You need minimal facts. You need just enough information to say this could have happened and we need to move forward. Same thing with an adult. Do you want to sit there and tell a complete stranger about your last sexual experience down to the minute details of everything that happened? Probably not. Then why would they want to, especially when it was unwanted, when it was an assault, when it was rape? We want to tell them that it's not their fault. We want to tell them that I'm glad you told me. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for trusting me. What can I do to support you? I can stay with you tonight. Would that help? Do you want me to go with you to the hospital or the police station? Now that statement is different. We're not forcing the victim to go. We're not forcing them to go to the hospital. We're not forcing them to go to the police station. We are offering them a choice. Do they want to go? And if so, where? And would you like me to come with you? And of course, there's somehow a typo in the bottom. Gotta love it. Even with the best of intentions, why questions can sound accusatory and make survivors blame themselves. You don't need to ask why. All you need is minimal information. When it comes to victim blaming, this is unfortunately a very common response to disclosures or mentions of sexual assault. What is victim blaming? It is questioning people who experienced violence, especially sexual violence, about their actions and what they could have done to prevent it, or how they may have invited it upon themselves. What could you have done to prevent yourself from being victimized? It is pointing out supposed weaknesses or differences in a person that could have made them a target. Common examples of victim blaming include, what did you expect going out dressed like that? Why didn't you fight back? Why didn't they fight back? You shouldn't have gone home with them. You shouldn't have been there. Why did they get so drunk? Why did you get so drunk? Victim blaming is switching the blame from the perpetrator who committed a crime to the victim, to that survivor who did nothing wrong. One of the activities I love to do with teenagers, older teenagers, when we talk about victim blaming it's called Ripped from the Headlines. It's courtesy of Love 146. Love is Not a Number curriculum in their 3rd edition. And we just take a look at an actual sexual assault headline. The names have been changed, but this is a real incident. We look at what happened, and then we look at what the people did in this town, and they blamed the victim. This victim, who was sexually assaulted by multiple boys, multiple men, she was called a liar. She was called a faker. She was called a drunk bitch and a whore. They said that she was asking for it. She was asking to be gang raped by multiple guys. They blamed her for the assault. Part of the activity is to then flip it, to then discuss how we should actually respond to a victim of sexual assault. Here are some of the examples. You will make it. You're a victim. It was not okay. You deserve better. It's not your fault. That's an important one. What's up with the bystanders? Why didn't someone stop it who was there? It's important, it's important when we talk about victim blaming that we need to flip the narrative. We need to flip the way we talk about sexual violence and we need to start by using perpetrator-focused language. The perpetrator is the one to blame, not the victim. The victim did nothing wrong. In the Steubenville case, a high school girl went out partying. She drank. She was underage. What are the consequences of underage drinking? Well, she should have woke up at home. She should have gotten in trouble by her parents, probably would have lost her cell phone for a month, have a really bad headache, a really bad hangover, throwing up. You know, those are the consequences for underage drinking, not being sexually assaulted by multiple men, not being gang raped by multiple individuals, and then having pictures taken of you while being raped, having pictures taken of you while you're sexually assaulted, and then sent to your schoolmates. The perpetrators are the ones to blame, not the victim. Our Child Advocacy Center director, Ashley Owens, when we talk about human trafficking, loves this slide. And I threw it in there because this is important. Whether we're talking about sexual assault, human trafficking, we need to change the way we talk about it. A child prostitute is not a prostitute. They are rape victims. They're sexual assault victims. They're survivors. We see in the news all the time non-consensual sex. That's not a thing. It's sexual assault. Non-consensual sex is rape. An underage woman, you'll see it in the news, an underage woman was assaulted. That's a child. A child was raped. Sex with minors is rape. Child pornography is images and videos of child sexual abuse. It's not child pornography. They are images and videos of children being sexually assaulted. Like I said, this even proceeds into the news and how we report sexual assaults and rapes. As you can see, these are all taken within the last year or two, and it's all blaming the woman. They're blaming the victim. A woman was raped on a train as bystanders did nothing. A Nashville woman was raped after mistakenly getting into a vehicle she thought was a ride share. They're saying it's her fault that she mistook the car for a ride share, not the perpetrator that then left her there, took her to a secluded spot, and sexually assaulted her. I like that. I like that. Question here, is it blaming the victim or putting the ownership of the act on her? Yeah, I would say it is putting the ownership of the act on her, which is victim blaming. We're blaming the victim that she could have done more. She could have done something instead of letting herself be raped, which was victim blaming there. We need to make sure that we are pulling an Uno reverse card here, and we are putting the ownership back onto where it should be, back onto the perpetrators. Some good examples in the news of that being done. Flipping the narrative so that we are not putting the onus of the act onto the person it should be, the perpetrator, the rapist. Okay, so an easy to remember summary here. Just to summarize, we have one last little video by a very, very, very smart guy, smartest guy I know. He's going to just give us a little summary before we end our day. Give me 1 second here. Hey guys, it's Thad with Victim Services here. Did you know that only 23% of sexual assaults are reported to the police? So if someone has the courage to tell you they have been sexually assaulted, here are some tips for that conversation. Avoid judgment. Remain calm and always maintain confidentiality. Be patient and of course, encourage services. Some helpful responses during the conversation could be, I believe you. It is not your fault. You did not do anything wrong. You are not alone. And of course, I'm sorry this happened to you. I hope these tips and resources are helpful should someone disclose to you. Remember, Victim Services is available 24/7 at our free and confidential helpline, 814-944-3585. Okay, and we're back. Like I said, smartest guy I know. Good looking guy too. Kind of looks slightly familiar. So last thing here, we have a nice major announcement by the Victim Services Program, and that is that we are opening up our volunteer training for the first time since before COVID. So FSI Victim Services Volunteer Training is going to begin this Thursday evening from 4:30 to 8. It's going to run every Thursday evening from 4:30 to 8 until May 19th. It is also going to include one Saturday training, May 21st from 9 until noon. And this allows our volunteers to obtain their VSP volunteer certificate. Now, one of the things to mention here, volunteers must attend a total of 20 hours of in-person instruction, as well as 20 hours of computer-based training. If this is something that you are interested in, something that you would like to be a part of to help us out here at the Victim Services Program, please reach us at our helpline, 814-944-35, for future dates or to see if we have any openings for this class. As always, the Victim Services Program is here for you. Like I said before, it is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. If you know anyone who is a victim of intimate partner violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, our helpline is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 814-944-3585. That number is, of course, can be called or texted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is free and confidential. Also, another major announcement, Women Aware is, of course, back. The group has increased their hours. They're now meeting once a week for 2 hours. Members can join at any time. For more information on Women Aware, please call 814-944-3585 or our helpline. Information on our FSI Justice Project, which provides civil legal representation for victims of survivors of intimate partner violence. For more information on that, please, of course, call our helpline again. Of course, you can find all of our recordings, our presentations on YouTube, and our Go to stage. Follow us on social media, our information here with Family Services, resources, and of course, education or training needs. My contact information is there as well. If you have any questions, I will hang out for a few minutes to answer any questions. If not, thank you all for attending, and I hope to see you all on our next Webinar Wednesday.